Hello, students, and welcome to our lesson on multi-step inequalities. So we'll start with our do now, which will ask us to respond mindfully and carefully to a prompt about kindness journaling. When do you feel kinder? You look for a pattern when you write things down. For me, I'm having a hard time being kind when I'm super tired. And sometimes that's most when you need to be kind. Are you kinder at school? Or are you kinder around friends or around your parents or other people who love you? Our objective will be to solve inequalities, and we will graph them using interval notation, and that's the new step for us today. Our essential question: how can I represent whether a value is included in the set of solutions to an inequality? Our assignment will be to watch this video, and please complete your assigned pages as you're watching the video. I don't want you to skip on doing the work that's really going to teach you algebra, and that is the practice. We do our do now and our exit in teams, but our math pages are always completed on physical paper and showing our work so that the teacher can see what we're doing and we can get credit for our hard work. Our exit ticket will ask us to fill in a blank today. In interval notation, a parentheses in a solution set means what? And a bracket in a solution set means what? So we'll look for those clues to those answers as we work today. Our homework will be homework 10, some problems on multi-step inequalities. And it is getting near the end of the marking period, so it is important that you note that not only does the marking period end, but you need to have all your work completed and turned in. We're going to have a Unit 2 review on Monday. I know I had previously announced a test that day, but I think we'll push that off one day, do the review on Monday, the test on the 10th, Tuesday the 10th. That still gives you 2 days to do any corrections and get back some credit. Remember, do all your work when it is assigned, or you will miss the opportunity to build on what you know and you'll fall behind. So don't do that. Here's our beautiful fall picture looking up to the sky. And as you look up to the sky, stay centered, focused, and trust that you can learn this and you can learn this well. The more that you practice, the more you'll learn. Hopefully you realize you've learned a lot so far, even now. This was our do now, talking about keeping a kindness journal. And here is our exit, which asks, in interval notation, a parentheses in a solution set means what? And a bracket in a solution set means what? Let's get to the problems. Okay, as we said, today we are looking at multi-step inequalities, and we're going to talk about something called interval notation. So interval notation is another way of expressing the answer to an inequality. It uses parentheses and brackets to show where a graph starts and ends. Parentheses mean not included or open. We use parentheses when a graph starts or ends with an open circle. Brackets mean included or closed. We use brackets when the graph starts or ends in a closed circle. Excuse me. Always use parentheses with infinity or negative infinity. So let's solve a few problems. Remember, we do distribute with inequalities if we are dividing or multiplying by a negative number. we will need to flip the inequality. So watch for flippers. Okay, so after distributing, we have 4x plus 12 is greater than negative 24. No, we don't flip the inequality just because there's a negative in the problem. We flip the inequality when we multiply or divide by a negative number. So we're going to subtract 2 from both sides. Oh, sorry, 12. Subtract 12 from both sides. And 4x is greater than negative 36. And we will, let's change our color. We will divide by 4. And x is greater than negative 9. Now here's the interval notation. I'm going to label the number line first. I need to include this negative 9 in the answer. So I'm going to start here, negative 12, negative 11, negative 10, negative 9, 8, 7, 6. Open circle. Graph goes this way. Now with the interval notation, because I have an open circle here, we'll have a parenthesis. The graph goes to infinity. So we have negative 9, comma, infinity. Infinity is always expressed with parenthesis. Okay, let's do another one. We need to distribute. We're distributing a negative 3. So we have x minus 3x minus 6 is greater than 4. We can combine x minus 3x for negative 2x minus 6 is greater than 4. We'll add 6 to both. Excuse me. Sorry. We'll add 6 to both sides. Negative 2x is greater than 10. Now we are dividing by a negative number. We will need to flip the inequality symbol. So we will have x is less than negative 5. Let's label our number line. We can start at negative 8, negative 7, negative 6, negative 5, negative 4, 3, negative 2. So less than gives us an open circle on negative 5, and x is less than. Our graph goes in that direction. And in this case, we have parenthesis, negative infinity, because this is negative infinity in this direction. Negative infinity, comma, negative 5, and again a parenthesis because we have an open circle. And that's our interval notation. So why don't you try number 3 and 4 on your own and pause the video. Okay, I hope you tried them on your own. First thing we need to do is distribute, which will give us 7x minus 2x plus 8 is less than or equal to negative 2. Remember, a negative times a negative is a positive. So we can combine 7x minus 2x for 5x plus 8 is less than or equal to negative 2. Let's subtract 8 from both sides of the equation, or of the inequality. It's not an equation, it's an inequality. That leaves us with 5x is less than or equal to negative 10. Let's divide by 5. Remember, we're not dividing by a negative number. No need to flip the inequality. So x will be less than or equal to negative 2. And let's graph this on our number line. I'll start with -5, -4, -3, -2, -1, 0, 1. We have here, because we have less than or equal to, we're going to have a closed circle on -2. X will be less than that, headed toward -infinity. So our interval notation, we always use parentheses with infinity and -infinity, comma, -2. Closed circle, we need to use a bracket. So there's our first use of the bracket, because our circle is closed. Number 4, we'll distribute -8. So we multiply it to the quantities within the parenthesis, which will give us, remember this x is positive, so we have -8x. -8 times -1 is +8. Here we have our -x is less than or equal to 28. Next thing we'll do is combine like terms. -8, -8, let me make that clearer. -8 minus 1/8, here's an invisible 1 here, is -9x plus 8 is less than or equal to 28. We will, I wrote a 2 instead of an 8. There we go. We will subtract 8 from both sides. -9x is less than or equal to -36. Now, yes, we are dividing by a negative. Couple things to point out. We're dividing by a negative, so we flip the inequality sign. Also, here we have a negative divided by a negative, which will be a positive. 36 divided by 9 is 4. Now we need to graph this. So I'm just going to start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I usually like to see 0 on a graph, but I didn't work that out at this time, and it's not always necessary. We have greater than or equal to, which is a solid circle headed toward infinity, is our graph. Okay, you don't need to put that there. I'm just showing that to you. We have a solid circle, so bracket 4, comma, infinity, and infinity is always followed by a parenthesis. So try number 5 and 6, and then come back. Okay, we don't have to distribute this time, but we do have variables on both sides of the inequality. So I think what I will do is add 2x to each side and move the x's to the left, which will give me 8x plus 1 is less than 9. And then I'll subtract 1 from both sides. And I'm left with 8x is less than 8. And then I will divide both sides by 8. And x now is less than 1. Now I need to graph. So let's start with -2, -1, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. X is less than 1, so that's an open circle on 1. And our graph will head toward -infinity. In interval notation, that's parentheses, -infinity, comma, 1 with the open circle. We have the parentheses. Number 6. I think I will subtract 2x from each side. Maybe not. No, I'm going to subtract 5x. That might be easier. It'll work out either way. So this cancels. I have negative 3x minus 1 is less than or equal to 20. Add 1 to both sides. Negative 3x is less than or equal to 21. Now look, I am dividing by a negative. Negative 3, negative 3. Now x, now I have to flip that inequality, is greater than or equal to negative 7. And let's graph this. So I'll start with negative 10, negative 9, negative 8, negative 7, negative 6, negative 5, negative 4. How do I know where to start? Well, I try to make it so that where my open or closed circle is, in this case a closed circle, is near the center of the graph. So in interval notation, I'll have a bracket, negative 7, comma, infinity, parentheses always for infinity. So go ahead and try number 7 and 8. And then come back to the video. Okay, 7 and 8, so let's get started with those. We do need to distribute this negative sign through to that quantity in parentheses. So 3 negative, this is an invisible 1, negative 1 times 2 is negative 2x, negative times a negative is a positive, plus 7 is less than or equal to 34 minus 6x. I think we need to combine like terms. That would be our next thing. 7 plus 3 is 10, so we have negative 2x plus 10 is less than or equal to 34 minus 6x. And I'm going to add 6x to both sides. Which will give me negative 2 plus 6 is positive 4x, plus 10 is less than or equal to 34. And let's subtract 10 from both sides. 4x is less than or equal to 24. And then we'll divide by positive 4. And in this case, x would equal 6. So let's look at the number line. If we want 6 to be about here, this would be 5, 4, 3. Now complete my number line with 7, 8, 9. I don't know why I wrote equals. Must be getting tired. It's less than or equal to, so that would be a solid circle over the 6. And if it's less than or equal to, our graph goes this way. So infinity and negative infinity are always parenthesis, bracket around that 6, parenthesis for infinity. That's our final interval notation. Now number 8, we do need to distribute. So that will give us negative 3x minus 6 minus 3x is less than 2x plus 18. We can combine the negative 3x minus 3x, which will give us negative 6x. Then we have our minus 6 is less than 2x plus 18. Let's subtract, I'm going to change my color. Let's subtract 2x from each side, move the x's to the left. 6x minus 2x is negative 8x. Minus 6 is less than 18. Now we add 6 to both sides. negative 8x is less than 24. And now we're dividing by a negative number. I want to show that in a different color. So divide by negative 8, both sides. And we need to flip the inequality to a greater than. 24 divided by negative 8 is negative 3. So let's see, let's put our negative 3 here. Negative 2, negative 1, 0, negative 4, negative 5, negative 6. And let's see, open circle on negative 3, and our graph will go to the right. Interval notation, parenthesis, negative 3, comma, infinity, parenthesis. And let's do the last two problems before I run out of battery. 5x, negative 3 times x minus 3x, negative 3 times 6 minus 18 is greater than or equal to 8 minus x plus 7. So let's combine, let's see. 5x minus 3x is 2x minus 18 is less than or equal to, we have negative, 8 plus 7 is 15, and we have that negative x, so 15 minus x. I think what we want to do is, let's add x to both sides. A couple ways to do it, but I'm going to add 1x to each side. That cancels. Let's change our color. This cancels this. 3x minus 18 is greater than or equal to 15. Let's add 18 to both sides. Three x is greater than or equal to 33. And we'll divide by positive 3. No need to flip an inequality. X is greater than or equal to 11. And on our number line for our interval notation, we will have 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. Solid dot over 11. Graph goes to the right. So we have bracket 11, comma, infinity, parenthesis. Last problem. So when we have a negative outside a quantity in parentheses, it simply changes the sign of everything within the parenthesis. So that would give us negative 3x minus 3 minus 2x is greater than, now we have to distribute, negative 4x plus 8, negative times a negative is a positive, minus 2. Negative 3x minus 2x can combine for a negative 5x minus 3 is less than, we've got negative 4x, and we're going to combine the 8 minus 2, which will give us a positive 6. I think we will add 4x to both sides in our next step. Which gives us negative x, and that's an invisible 1 right there, negative 1x minus 3 is greater than 6. Let's add 3 to both sides. and negative, be careful, x is greater than 9. But remember, we are now in a position where we're forced to divide by -1 so that we can isolate x. And now x, we flip, is less than -9 because -9 divided by -1 is -9. So let's go ahead and graph. So we have an open circle on -9. Our graph goes to the left toward -infinity. So that's parenthesis, -infinity, comma, -9, parenthesis. There's our final answer. Let's go back to that do now. In interval notation, okay? So what did we do here? In interval notation, what does the parenthesis mean and what does the bracket mean? So the parenthesis means not included. In the answer set, okay? That means that the number around which the parenthesis is not included. So if we have 6, 15, that would mean the 6 is not included in the answer set. So anything greater than 6 would be included. But it does mean that 15 would be included. A bracket in a solution set means included. So included in the solution. And this is included in the solution. Please do your homework and please practice. These are not easy. Algebra is getting a little bit tricky. So the only way to really be a superstar is with lots of practice. But if you do that, I know you'll be great. Keep it up.